breakfast with Bob.
Poncho Man, thank you very much. Again, we are brought to you by EAS Sports Nutrition, Hoka One One, Polar, Oscar Wellness, Velo Fix. We'll be doing our championship edition at Four Seasons Hualalai on Sunday. Triathlonworld.com is where we are broadcasting. And our guest, 9th last year in his first time here. He has been on the podium at Xterra twice. He's a 2-time Olympian. I don't know what the heck. He does everything. Mr. Brent McMahon, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Good way to start the morning on the beach by the ocean.
Not bad. We're in the sand.
Literally in the sand, yeah.
I love that. So what'd you learn from last year coming here for the first time?
I learned a lot. You know, I came in open-minded and ready to just go and have a good race and absorb everything. Yes. And, you know, I had a good solid day for part of it, and then, you know, had some troubles. And so we thought about that and learned from that, and coming in a little bit more prepared this year.
So you were 5th off the bike.
Yep.
Right? And knowing the way you run, at that point you're thinking, I'm right here. I could potentially win this race.
Yeah, yeah, literally I was getting onto the run going, okay, I got this. I just need to do what I do well, which is, you know,
run off
fast.
the bike.
Yeah.
Run fast. I like it.
Yeah.
So when you look at this race and looking at you ended up 9th, 3:06. Right, and that's 3:06 is probably 20 minutes off of where you expected you to be and where a lot of us expected you to be. What have you done from last year to this year to feel like, okay, I know I can put it all together this year?
Yeah, well, we actually really didn't change much because I was really fit and I was really strong coming in last year, and so it was more changing how I go about my nutrition. Mm-hmm. I have such a great bike setup on my Specialized with where to hold stuff, but I just didn't put the right things in the right place, and for me that was my gels. This year I figured out where to put them so that I can stay aero and account for how many I'm taking.
Yes.
And that was my problem last year, is I wasn't able to keep track of how many gels I was or was not taking. And so after the race I went back and reviewed, and I'd left a whole bunch of gel in my container, and that means you can't run well when you're not fueled. So so we've done a lot of the same training, and I feel stronger than last year.
Yep.
But now I've had a couple more shots at doing Ironmans and practicing with this new nutrition intake.
Right.
And I think I've got it nailed this year.
So coming off the 2 Olympic experiences, 2004 and 2012, was this a goal, coming here to Ironman and moving up into that longer distance?
Yeah, you know, I've all along you know, followed all sorts of triathlon, and I always watched the Ironman every year. And, you know, and then I came and watched it, you know, live and in person, and, you know, and watching it, you know, when I was, you know, getting ready for Athens and London Olympics, it was like, you know, yeah, I'm gonna do that one day, and then I came and watched it live. And
which year did you come watch it live?
I believe it was 2010.
Okay.
And you know, and that's, you know, I was still in the qualifying for London, and so, you know, it really struck me watching it live that, you know, I was like, okay, when London's over, this is what I'm doing, and I want to come back and I want to win this thing. And there's just, yeah, it just suited me, and I got really excited about it, and so the switch after London was really easy. So
3 times you've been sub-8, and people have been racing their whole career and got nowhere near it. And you know, you're talking 7:46 at Ironman Brazil and 7:55 at Arizona, which is your debut.
Yeah.
So first time out, you're like, what's the big deal? This thing's like chopped liver. 7:55, I can do that.
Well, the faster you do it, the quicker it's over. So that's, I figured the first time out, let's just get this done quickly.
Boom.
And then
yeah. And then 7:56 at Brazil, you're 3rd there. Talk a little bit about, you know, the South American Championship, 7:46, 4:11 bike, 2:42 marathon. Was that just one of those days where everything seemed perfect?
You know,
not necessarily.
In an Ironman, there is never just one of those days. That's the beauty of Ironman racing, is no matter how good your day is, no matter how, you know, many times I've gone under 8, it never was completely smooth the whole way. There's always something you have to overcome in an Ironman, even when everything's clicking.
Right.
There's always a hard patch, and I think that's why it draws so many people, because there's no easy way through it. And so even going 746 and riding a 411 and a 242, you know, there was points on the bike where, you know, I felt I wasn't going to be able to keep it going, and I had to work through some rough patches and slow down a little bit and regroup, and you know, and so, you know, it's, you just keep plugging away at it, and you just keep, you know, your nutrition going and keep your mind positive, and then it all clicks by the end and you go fast.
So you're one of the few guys I know who trains in Maui, right? People come over here for training camps. And I think some of the limitations of being on Kona is not a lot of places to ride, and the running is primarily pavement.
Yeah.
But you guys love training on Maui.
Yeah, you know, I've been going there for over 10 years now, and it's got great variety. It's also close to here.
Yes.
You know, so my coach Lance and I, 2 weeks ago, we flew over for 6 days of training in Kona, and so that I could get on that course and go over the run and go over the bike and go over the swim and spend some intimate time with it, but then go back to where I'm familiar and I've got, you know, a house that I stay, and just go back and do my own thing. And so it's a great spot, but it's still Hawaii. It's still close, and it's, you know,
still hot.
Still hot, and it's windier over there. So
is it really?
Yeah. Well, we get steady trade winds there, so it's just constant all day.
So it's not as inconsistent here, where you don't. Yeah, it's like, you know, every day. Yeah. I'm going to have a headwind here.
So if it's windy on Saturday, I love it.
The windier the better.
The windier the better.
The hotter the better too.
The hotter the better.
Canadian boy.
Yeah.
The hotter the better. What the heck?
We just like it tough, you know. That's,
Canadians
you know,
are tough.
That's true. We're just tough.
You're
you know?
hockey
so
guys,
it's like,
right? Yeah.
Just throw whatever you want at us, and we'll take it.
I like that. So you've been working with Lance Watson for what, 20 years?
20 years, yeah.
What the heck?
I know.
You usually don't see that. Usually you don't see a coach and athlete. Usually there's a point, and through Olympics, through Xterra, through long distance, all that. So what does Lance bring to the table for you?
I think it's just been a great partnership. At the beginning, it was, you know, very much, you know, coach athlete, and you know, he was telling me what to do and guiding me and teaching me, and then as we've developed over, you know, my career and his career, he's gained more skills, I've gained more skills. We've always worked as a team, and there's give and take in that, and so we've had rough patches, and people are like, well, why don't you switch coaches? And it's like, well, no one else knows me as well, so if I can't work it out with Lance, how am I going to work it out with
some guy you don't know?
You know, and so that's the benefit of being with somebody for 20 years. We run into a problem. Well, we've probably already run into it once before, so it's like, okay, let's just change this up again, and you know, and so it's the familiarity of it, but also just learning from each other.
You've been working with Lance for 20 years. How long have you been racing as a triathlete?
Not too much longer.
Okay, about 20 years.
25 years, yeah.
25 years as a triathlete. Does it get old? Or is it something, because you've changed your game a number of times, it seems like it's almost like you're moving to a new sport.
Exactly. And I tell people, you know, they ask me, oh, you know, what do you do? And you know, I was like, oh, I used to race triathlon, you know, ITU, but then I retired from that. And they're like, oh, okay, you retired. And then I did Ironman, and now I do Ironman. And they're like, well, that's not really retiring. And I was like, well, for me it is. I retired from an aspect of my life that took a different mindset. Right. And now I'm, you know, starting a new job in triathlon still, but it's a different mindset. It's a different type of training. And so, you know, it was the same when I went and did some Xterras. It was a total different mindset for me, and it was a break away from the ITU racing, and I think that's just kept it fresh for me, and mixing it up.
What did you like about the ITU racing? I mean, because a lot of people look at that. It's especially at one point, it was, you had to swim really well, and it was, people rode, and there was a lot. It was more criterium format.
It's cutthroat.
It's cutthroat, right? It's different.
Yeah, it's about millimeters and seconds, and you know, and it's and that's what I liked about it, is the details were so important. Transitions. You lose in a transition. Yeah, you can't screw anything up, and you really have to be on your game, and you really have to be sharp. Yes. And I think that's, you know, again, that's something that I've, you know, been able to bring to my Ironman racing, is taking care of those details, because in an Ironman, so much can go wrong because you're racing for so long. Right. So the more details that you can take care of, the less opportunity for things to go wrong. And so, you know, and it also allows you to be critical about your racing and your training and go, oh, okay, this is what we did wrong. And so for me, looking back at last year's race, Lance and I sat down right after the race when it's all fresh, and we're like, what did we do right? Okay, great. That's what we nailed that. What did we do wrong? And you go through it and you figure it out, and I figured out what I did wrong last year, and we're not going to make that mistake again.
There's such a great heritage of Canadian athletes over here, you know, with Peter Reid and Sylvain Puntos and Lisa Bentley and Laurie Bowden and Heather Fior. What would it mean to you to win this race?
Well, I think that's part of what inspires me, is to do this race and to not just do it well, but to try and win it, you know, because we have such a great heritage here as Canadians, doing well and proving that just because we're from Canada where it's cold, we can do well here, and we can, you know, race in the lava and we can win. And, you know, and it's been a while since a Canadian or even a North American has won. And so, you know, I look at, you know, that great history of, you know, Lisa and Laurie and Peter, and it's inspiring, and it gives me confidence that I can do this. Right.
When you look back at your career, is there one race that sticks out that basically told you, I can be really, really good at this sport?
You know, I think just growing up, and that's, again, working with Lance, you know, he saw the talent in me, and he saw my abilities, and I think the most important thing he saw was my work ethic and my ability to not give up when things got hard. Right. And so, you know, in certain races that you require more of that. But I think as we've got longer in distance, and, you know, I did super sprint, and then I did ITU, and then, you know, half Ironman, and now I'm doing Ironman, that requirement for, you know, sticking it out and being tough is just growing more and more. Right. And so now that I'm doing Ironman, you know, it suits me really well, and I can dig deep and I can get through a lot of stuff. And
what was the toughest part about the transition from the Olympic to the Ironman? Or was it pretty seamless for you?
Yeah, I didn't find it that difficult, because I was never, you know, super all in on high interval, high intensity training. You know, I never handled it really well. I would get injured, and so we always tended more towards the sub threshold training, and so that bodes really well for sub threshold racing, which is 70.3 in Ironman. Yeah. So, you know, so it was actually just a lengthening of some of the mileage and a changing of, you know, a few things, but it wasn't a huge jump. Like, I wasn't going from hitting the track 3 times a week to doing 2.5 hour long runs. I would run on the track maybe once a week or once every other week. Right. So, and I still do that, you know.
First year of Ironman racing, you did 4 of them in 12 months. Did that turn out to be a little much, or was that okay? Because obviously you started out sub 8 and didn't go away from that.
Yeah. So, you know, I think we wanted to get familiar with the distance, and
that's a quick way. Yeah, you got familiar.
Yeah. And it was going well, and the training was going well, and I felt fresh and I felt good, and, you know, and Lance and I, again, we were just like, when things go well, go with it. And when things don't go well, then you pull back and you recover, and you do what you need to get back there. And so, you know, we've been on a good roll, and so we just went with it.
I love that. Hey, Brent, thanks so much for taking time. Where's our man, Poncho Man? He's running. Come on, Poncho Man. Here. I love that. Brent, best of luck on Saturday.
Awesome,
have yourself a great race. Again, Brent McMahon has been our guest. This is Breakfast with Bob. How about a round of applause for Mr. McMahon? Poncho Man, take us out. I've never seen Poncho Man move that fast in my life.
Breakfast with Bob.
Oh! There we go. Yo, yo, yo.